You are now watching The Queen Chioma. So hey guys, I'm back with another video. So tonight's video is yet again another Chioma Chats video podcast edition. So by the title, we are going to be talking about Azealia Banks and her recent comments about the ShadeRoom. So Azealia Banks slid into the ShadeRoom to make a comment about the ShadeRoom and the types of posts that they make, their owner, and how she feels like their owner does a disservice to the Black community, especially Black Americans in particular. So I really wanted to know you guys' thoughts, so I posted this on my community tab, and I honestly was kind of shocked by the responses that I got from what was being said. I feel like Azealia Banks was trying to say that because the owner is a Nigerian American, that is why she spends so much time demonizing, antagonizing, and highlighting some of the negative aspects of Black American culture. There were so many people that said they agree with what she said, but I just wanted to put that out there. Let's not accredit being Nigerian as the reason why the ShadeRoom is the way how it is, because I don't think that's fair to say. But I definitely agree that the ShadeRoom does have levels of negativity and toxicity, and it's not necessarily the most positive platform, because it's not. So I'm going to go ahead and read exactly what Azealia Banks said verbatim. And I do want to let you guys know, as a trigger warning, there is some cuss words and it is kind of offensive. So here we go. So Azealia Banks said, "The ShadeRoom is run by a Nigerian woman who is more obsessed with denigrating Black Americans than doing anything with her platform to bring light to the issues like SARS and Boko Haram that plague her home country. Sure, Blacks have issues here, but the situation in Nigeria is dire. She doesn't have the courage to fight for her own. She uses Black American media to distract herself from how politically incapable Sue truly is. She is a useless pig. Why does anyone give a F about what her fat ass has to say about us? LMFAO. African Americans are faring far better, and she wants to be one of us so bad that it's comical. I couldn't be of Nigerian descent and ignore the fact that China is funding Boko Haram and other groups to terrorize Nigeria and its citizens, while I sit back in my gluttony, gorging on poisonous American food supply while my people die on sacred land. She is a useless pig." Now, looking at the comments that I got on that, a lot of people were saying that Azealia is speaking a lot of truth and that, she didn't lie, and sometimes she's the right message, wrong messenger. People did not like the fact that she was fat shaming the woman, which I definitely agree that was kind of wrong to just go there. But I did want to talk about this because I am someone that is of Nigerian descent. So let's get right into this video. Now, the reason why I was kind of disturbed by some of the comments that were made under my community tab is because I feel like some of the people are missing what she's saying. Azealia Banks is trying to blame the fact that the ShadeRoom is so negative, all because it is run by a Nigerian woman. Now, the owner of the ShadeRoom is a woman named Angelica Nwandu. She is the founder of the ShadeRoom, which is pretty much an Instagram-based media company, and it just focuses on celebrity gossip, and that is pretty much the primary focus of the ShadeRoom, celebrity gossip. Basically, the ShadeRoom has now over like 20 million followers across all of its platforms, and it really has become the epicenter of Black media, Black news, and Black culture for Black Americans online. I'm pretty sure people follow the ShadeRoom from all different parts of the world, but deep down, it's pretty much for Black Americans here in the United States. Now, I don't like the fact that Azealia is trying to use the fact that this woman is Nigerian and that she should focus on issues that are in Nigeria. Let's be real, you guys. I was born and raised in America. My culture, to me, is a mix of American culture as well as Nigerian culture. I feel like some people don't understand that being both is like being between a rock and a hard place. People always talk about biracial people and how biracial people should choose both of their sides and say that they're mixed. I'm not comparing race to an ethnicity or culture or a nationality, but I'm just comparing the concepts of being someone that is in both places. At the end of the day, yes, I have Nigerian heritage and both of my parents are immigrants of Nigeria, but I don't have Nigerian citizenship. I don't even know how to speak my native language, and a good number of the things that I know in life are American. From the food that I eat, the way that I talk, and the language that I speak, I feel like a big majority of my life is influenced by American culture, and I can't deny that. See, the thing is, when you're growing up as a Nigerian American with immigrant parents, yes, you have that clash of two cultures, but you cannot deny what culture that you're actually living in. I don't think her being a Nigerian American has anything to do with her running the ShadeRoom and neglecting what happens in Nigeria. I feel like her platform was based on Black American, or just the things that happen as Black people people in America, regardless if you're ADOS or not. That is what her platform is, celebrity-based gossip. I don't understand how people say like the Shade Room is so toxic and this, that, and the third. I mean, it's called the Shade Room. You can't expect it to post positive things because that's not its purpose. It's celebrity gossip. People blame the Shade Room for a lot of things, and this is not me sticking up for her because she's a Nigerian. Trust me, if she was a Nigerian doing wrong things, I would drag her like I would do the next person. But I can't drag her for her platform doing what its platform is supposed to do, which is to report on celebrity gossip, which is usually not something very positive. Now, I did want to touch on the fact that I do think the Shade Room does bring light to things that happen as Black people in America. Now, let's just say with her being a Nigerian American with Nigerian descendants and Nigerian heritage, let's say she chose not to report on Black Lives Matter or any of the racially driven politics that happen here in America. She would also be demonized and antagonized for not reporting on things that happen here in America that affect any Black person. If the Shade Room did not report on any topics dealing with the reality of being a Black person in America, she would be dragged and said, oh, well, you only care about Nigerian things and this is why we have a divide and you need to only talk about things that have to do with Nigerian politics. It doesn't make any sense when someone is born and raised in this country to neglect what is going on in this country. Now, let's take the politics and all the serious topics out of it. Like I said, the Shade Room is for celebrity gossip and tea. So that's what it's going to report on. You can't expect the Shade Room to give you all the positive things that celebrities do when in reality, that's not what its purpose is for. I feel like, yes, the Shade Room does like to make a mockery out of Black America and tends to glorify a lot of things that don't make people look the most positive. But I don't think we can credit that to her being a Nigerian American. Like, I just don't see it like that, because if that was the case, I should stop talking on YouTube and I should only focus on things that have to do with Nigeria and being a Nigerian, which I can't do that all the time because I'm not a citizen of Nigeria. I don't know what goes on there on a daily basis. I don't live there. To be honest, I've been to Nigeria 3 times in my entire 23 years of living. Now, I don't think Azealia Banks should have insulted her. I feel like it discredits her entire argument to call her out of her name and talk about her size. I feel like if you're going to throw shots at somebody within your argument, you almost lose your argument. You know what I'm saying? I don't understand why not just critique her on her business without having to do all the fat shaming and basically spewing her fat phobia, because that doesn't really add to her argument. I did want to also point out that I feel like sometimes Black people, regardless if you're ADOS or not, can be extremely critical of what actually happens as a race. You know, we all have platforms that are positive platforms, negative platforms, platforms about tea, platforms about all of these different realms and topics the same way white people do. White people have their outlets in which they talk about their things, but I feel like as Black people in America, we've created our own sections regardless if you're ADOS or not, because at the end of the day, there are things that just as a person of color or just someone that is Black, we can all relate to. I feel like if someone immigrates from Africa over here, grows up and starts to learn the culture, that said person is going to be more influenced by the Black culture, being that he or she is probably Black, than being influenced or privy to anything that happens within white culture here in America. Like someone said on my tab, the nuances are different, but the content is the same. You know, the comments on the Shade Room can occur whether they're positive or negative. Even the positive things that the Shade Room does post, people still find negative to talk about. I feel like that occurs in any race, any nationality, and any heritage. I feel like as a Nigerian, you do owe some credit to your culture and your heritage and your upbringing, and that should be something at the forefront of who you are as an individual. But I can't really fault her if she doesn't want to do that on a platform that thrives off of what it's been thriving off of. If I was the owner of the Shade Room, I would definitely incorporate a lot more Nigerian influence through media, music, politics, but that's just me. I don't really expect her to talk about certain Nigerian politics, but I do feel like she should. I even use my platform to talk about things that happen in Nigeria. I made a whole live stream for a good hour talking about NSARS and everything that was going on. And I don't know if Azealia just didn't do her research or what, but the Shade Room definitely did talk about the NSARS protests and other things of that nature. Azealia Banks did say something talking about how she wants to be one of us so bad, as if Angelica wants to be Black American so bad. But I kind of feel like, nah, like I think when you're someone immersed in both cultures, sometimes you feel more connected to Black American culture, and there's other times where you feel connected to your Nigerian culture. And I feel like her and I being the same way, growing up, being born and raised in America, I've dealt with that discrepancy sometimes. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. I think it's fine to embrace both sides, but it is what it is. You can't neglect the culture that is around you, because if you did, I would be demonized for that. And if I didn't, I wouldn't be living my true, authentic life. Not to mention, I feel like there's a lot of Black people people in America who are just considered ADOS that actually do have Nigerian heritage if you were to take one of those DNA tests. I know some people are against taking the DNA test because, you know, people feel like the government is behind it. I don't know. I haven't done my research that far into them, but I feel like there's a lot of Black American people that actually have direct Nigerian descent if you really look at it. And which is why I hate the diaspora war, especially as someone who was born and raised here but has Nigerian heritage, because it's like you really have this desire for everyone to get along or to be on the same page. It's really, really annoying because it's like, damn, like I see the Black American culture because you listen to the music. Most of your friends are just Black American. You know what I'm saying? That's just how my life has been. But then you go home or you just go to the African meeting or the African party or the African club or whatever it is, and then you see a different type of lifestyle, but it's still heavily influenced by Black American culture because we're Black in America. It is what it is. Although I do have Nigerian descent, and so does Angelica, it's kind of hard to just solely identify with being a Nigerian sometimes, because a lot of us who are first generation Nigerian Americans don't even know our native language, have never been to our actual motherland or what village our parents are from. Like, you'd be surprised how many people will have their last name as something Nigerian or Ghanaian or whatever, and then don't know their native language, let alone don't know anything about really where they're from. They just know their parents immigrated here from another country. And that's how a lot of it is, believe it or not. But when I tell people that, they never really believe me, but that really is how it is. Like, most of us are very much Americanized. Like, even people in Nigeria who are my same age will tell me I'm very much Americanized and I don't really resonate with what's going on over there. And I can't fault myself for that. I grew up in America. Now, I don't think Africans want to be African American per se. I don't really like how she said that. I feel like that's really aiding to the superiority complex of that argument. And I don't think most Black Americans or ADOS people have a superiority complex, but I do think Azealia Banks does after reading what she says. You know, being that the ShadeRoom owner is of Nigerian descent, that doesn't necessarily mean that she wants to be someone that is ADOS. You know, that doesn't necessarily mean that. That's just literally insinuating to make her point a little bit more factual, but I feel like that's just a heavy assumption, and it kind of seems self-centered because at the end of the day, Africa is a huge continent, okay, filled with a lot of people. I feel like that was very rude for her to say that. Some of the things that she said were very truthful. Like I said, the ShadeRoom is a very considered toxic place, but I don't necessarily think it is because that's its purpose. And if you don't like that, you don't have to follow it. I don't think everything they post is negative. I do think they just post what happens with celebrity gossip, drama, and lifestyle, just like any other tea page. But I also feel like they do post some positive things sometimes, and people just focus on the negative. I know recently they posted that Miss Mulatto paid for everyone's tab at a local Walmart or was just doing some form of Thanksgiving donation for the holiday. I know they posted that YK Osiris, which is an R&B singer, he paid for somebody's tab at Walmart. Like, they do post some positive things, don't get me wrong, but it gets overshadowed by the negative because, let's be real, negativity sells. If I post something on YouTube with a negative title, y'all click on it. Let me post something positive, I don't get as many views. And that's literally the business of media, and that's nobody's fault but the people that actually engage with the media. I do think the things that are happening in Nigeria do need a little bit more media attention. I definitely think the ShadeRoom is one engine that can definitely put that into the eyes of many people. But I feel like the ShadeRoom does also aid in supporting Nigerian artists when they talk about Davido or Wizkid or whomever. The ShadeRoom definitely shouts out Nigeria every year on Independence Day. And I definitely think the ShadeRoom tries its best to be diverse in its content when it comes to different types of Black people, but its sole purpose is for those who are here in America, and you cannot negate that. Sometimes I feel like the ShadeRoom pretends to be for the culture, but at the same time, the ShadeRoom isn't a news outlet for what goes on politically in other parts of the world. The ShadeRoom literally is a celebrity tea and gossip page, and I feel like because there's been pressure to talk about things other than that, which low-key they should, she doesn't necessarily have to change the purpose of her platform to fit anybody else's narrative. It would just be very nice to do that, but I don't really expect it out of a place called the ShadeRoom. And I feel like it's kind of backwards for Azealia Banks to fat shame and speak on the size and the body of another Black woman when Black women in general already get scrutinized and disrespected for being bigger, and then bigger Black women always get drawn to and compared to animals of different sorts, whether it's through their looks or their size. That already happens. Look at what happened to Serena Williams, how she's always been called masculine, and it doesn't matter if you're ADOS or not. Black women in general always get demonized for being bigger and compared to these different things, but Azealia Banks is speaking as if she's for the people, when in reality, sweetie, you're just drawing a bigger line in between this diaspora war that really does need to come to an end eventually. Also, the ShadeRoom is not necessarily just owned by Angelica. I feel like, yes, she is the main owner. She may be the founder, but the writers on the ShadeRoom are other Black Americans that are writers. The writers are primarily Black American people. So I can't fault Angelica as the owner when in reality, yes, she runs the entire thing, but the writers write what they write, and those writers are not Nigerians. It can be anybody running anything. The last thing I do want to say is this. Nigeria is a different political country than America is. In America, we have a lot more freedom to say what we want, get on the internet, express how we feel. We have this First Amendment right, freedom of speech, press, religion, assembly, and so forth. So therefore, those rights that occur here in America are not always the same things that happen in Nigeria. There was somebody that commented on my community tab, and I wanted to read what she said to you guys. And she said, I'm a Nigerian, and I don't blame any Nigerian who chooses to stay away from Nigerian politics because Nigerian politics is a dangerous game. Talking about Boko Haram won't erase Boko Haram. NSARS protesters were shot dead while singing the national anthem. The dead bodies of protesters were carried by the military, and they are nowhere to be found. Nigeria of today is a country one must be very careful when talking about for the safety of themselves and their loved ones. And I wholeheartedly agree. People want to press this whole issue of speak on this and speak on that and use your platform for this, when in reality, that is the freedoms that we have here in America to a certain extent. Not everybody else everywhere in the world has the same willingness and the same freedom to do that. Those people in Nigeria, again, like she said, were killed while singing their national anthem. And massacres like that do happen in different parts of the world as well. But think about it. I can speak on what I want to speak on as an American. But if I was a Nigerian with this same platform, there would be a little bit more guidelines that I have to go through and more hoops to jump through for me to say what I want to say without the government knocking on my door, or maybe somebody that's just an angry protester who doesn't like my content might come out and demonize me. And the way how the laws and the government is set up over there is not the same here in America. There's just a little bit less regulation, a lot of greed with the Nigerian government, and you have to be careful what you say on major platforms. So it's not always as easy as you think. Just like in China, they have their own set of social media, and their government heavily polices what their citizens can do, especially when it comes to speaking out against the government. So it's not always as easy and as black and white as it is here in the United States. So I did want to give credit to that. I feel like as a Nigerian American, I like to bring together people and understand that we can all get along, but it's very hard when you're in the center. But I feel like it's also a gem in disguise because I have the power to bring together two different groups of people who technically kind of are the same in certain ways, and then they're different in many other ways. Also, I feel like in Black America, there are issues that need to be fixed as well before people worry about what's going on overseas. And that's not a shade to my Nigerians, but it is what it is. There are home domestic issues that have to be fixed. Nigerians are not the only ones being terrorized. Nigerians are not the only country going through things. There are things that are happening in America that definitely do need to be publicized. BLM, police brutality, Antifa, the KKK, and other different authorities that need more exposure here in the United States versus worrying about what's going on across the pond. It's always great to offer support to other countries, but domestic issues, in a sense, are prioritized because they actually affect the citizens that are here in this country. I also feel like sometimes people who are ADOS do not like when people who are not ADOS speak about ADOS issues, especially when you're African or Caribbean or whatever it is, because sometimes I feel like the people that are considered non-ADOS, many of them are actually born and raised in America like myself, and I don't really know what people expect me to focus on in terms of news and media and entertainment and other things other than the things that happen in the country that, I live in. Sometimes I get told not to speak on issues that appeal to Black Americans because I have Nigerian heritage, but it confuses me sometimes because at the end of the day, my nationality is American. So I feel like if I didn't speak on BLM or police brutality or the things that plague people in Black America that actually affect me as well, I get ridiculed. So it's sometimes a lose-lose situation for me, and it does get kind of hard sometimes. But again, this is my channel, so I'm going to speak on whatever I want to speak on, period. There was one more comment that someone on my community tab said, and she said, not to deflect from the topic at hand, but I wish people would stop confusing first-generation Americans with our immigrant parents. As a first-generation Nigerian American, I can tell you being first-generation is like being stuck between a rock and a hard place. You were too American for the Nigerians, but too Nigerian for the Black Americans. I know several first generations who who haven't even been to Nigeria a day in their life, and even as someone who has visited Nigeria several times, there are still many aspects of Nigerian culture that I will never know, that I will never be able to relate to. I can post on social media and SARS, which is fine, but I've never had a personal run-in with SARS, so my perspective is limited. I'd say being a first generation is like being a perpetual ally, and honestly, sometimes you are darned if you do and darned if you don't. And I feel like that is a good point to make. You know, I feel like culturally I was brought up different than a Black American, but I was also brought up different than someone who was born and raised in Nigeria. So it is a difference, you know, there is like that little gray area of being immersed in American culture with a Nigerian heritage. It's just very weird sometimes. Like overall, I feel like yes, the Shade Room has its own levels of toxicity and negativity, but I would never accredit that to the owner being Nigerian. Like I don't feel like it's fair to say that because she is Nigerian, this is why she talks about the things on her platform. Like that's just not fair, especially for someone who was born and raised in America. That doesn't make any sense to me. I should stop talking about the things I talk about on YouTube, and I'm pretty sure people would be a little bit upset if I literally stopped talking on YouTube. So that is it for my video. I hope you guys enjoyed. What were your thoughts on Azealia Banks' comments? Please, let's get the discussion started in the comment section down below. Don't forget to follow me on all my social media networks, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.